You know, guys, over the years I've collected a vast majority of the Evercade cartridges, and I just want to say this. I think this is the future of Evercade right here. The future of Evercade right here is indie games. For those who don't know, when it comes to retro games and publishers, we have a bit of an issue with securing licenses for some publishers and developers due to the fact that, wow, some of these companies are like 50, 40, 30 years old and no longer exist. There are game publishers and developers like, say, Accolade, for example, who you'll probably never see those libraries on Evercade because those libraries are split up by multiple different companies, sold off to multiple different companies, and obviously, I believe, like for example, nowadays some of the games are owned by Atari. I know Atari owns like Demolition Racer and Bubsy and Hardball, but I don't know any other Accolade franchises and who actually owns them. And then you've got other companies. Picker Interactive comes around buying up game libraries as well. So you will probably see some games from some retro publishers on Evercade from like Pico Interactive, but you'll never see the full library. Now, with game preservation as well, it's kind of hard to do because obviously, like I said, all these publishers go bankrupt. Plus, as well, there are games based on licensed cartoons and books and TV shows and movies, and it's just kind of hard to get those licenses. Now, here we have some Evercade indie game collections. Why this is a big deal is because these indie games getting collections on Evercade now is such a huge deal. Because think about it, Evercade doesn't have the huge funds that companies like Nintendo or Microsoft or Sony have to convince gamers or game developers to bring their games to their platforms, right? But Evercade can offer them something unique, something different. And by doing something like, say, the Evercade Dual Carts, I think that's a pretty big way of doing this and enticing indie devs to come and support Evercade. Because, yeah, it's a cheap way to get your game out there. It's a way to get your game on physical media. You know, Evercade is a collector's market, and there are quite a few Evercade enthusiasts, as I shall say, who will probably collect every cartridge or who will try and buy every cartridge. There are YouTubers who obviously talk about these cartridges and obviously make videos about it, you know, like Mad Little Pixel, Picky Universe, you know, A Boy and His Dog Retro Edition. There are some great YouTubers out there who talk about Evercade as well. Likewise, Evercade as a whole has just been able to build up a huge library of games. You know, I think they've got like 400, 500 games currently in their catalogue if you buy all the cartridges. I think that's pretty impressive lineup of stuff. But then the question becomes, you know, what's next? Well, I feel like Evercade needs to double down on indie games because that's the market, in my opinion. Like a lot of retro game publishers, sure, you can keep getting retro game publishers' libraries on Evercade, but I do think Evercade is going to struggle getting some names. Sega, for example, is one that a lot of people seem to want on Evercade, but I don't know how likely that is because Sega obviously puts their games on every platform. They're rebooting half their franchises as well now. So I don't really see Sega coming to something like Evercade. I don't really see Sega really doing anything with Evercade. SNK is one that I've seen people talk about. Not sure how likely they are. Capcom, for example, yeah, Capcom games are on Evercade. At least the Evercade EXP and one of the Super Pockets. But there's no cartridge for Capcom, so I'm not sure how likely that even is in the future. And if they did do a cartridge, they can't really include some of the ones that are already on Evercade, which would be a bit kind of double dipping. Then you've also got, you know, companies like Konami, who people want to see, but Konami doesn't really do anything with their old games. It's a bit of a mess. So a lot of these older retro publishers, kind of hard to entice, because Blaze hasn't got the money to go to them and convince them to do it. Or they don't really want to do it because they don't really see the point in doing it, or they don't care about physical media, or they want to produce their own cartridges. It's a little bit of a mixed bag, to say the least. Now, why I think indie games are such a big deal is you can double down on indie games. Indie developers just want to get their games out. They just want to make a fun experience for the gamers. So games like Good Boy Galaxy, for example, which one I don't actually own yet, but the developers behind that, they put the game out on Evercade before they even released the Game Boy cartridge. I think that's amazing. I think if Place is able to continue to get game developers and indie and homebrew enthusiasts to bring their games to Evercade, I think that'd be awesome. You know, they could go to companies who make homebrews for, I don't know, the NES, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, and Lynx, Atari 7800, Atari 2600. Get these developers to bring their games to Evercade. Like, just do it. You know, bring up even more great games. You know, they already have 2 Indie Heroes cartridges currently out on the market. They have a third one coming this year. I also know they've also got ones for the homebrew as well, which I believe I might be already out. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't been following the home console home computer cartridges, but we will see. But yeah, guys, that's just my opinion. I think I think Evercade needs to focus on indie games and bringing more indie games over to Evercade, and slowly try to like push away a bit from like relying heavily on retro games, because obviously a lot of retro publishers are probably going to be more like demanding for license fees and like want higher rates and whatnot. Whereas a lot of indie devs are probably going to be easier to talk with and easier to negotiate with. But that's just my take. Anyways, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I've been EC and I'm signing out. Peace.